My question is, what were the socioeconomic and scientific advantages that the British gained from the talents of James Cook? James Cook, also known as Captain Cook, is best known for being a British explorer in the 1700s, but he was also an exceptional cartographer, navigator, and he was a captain in the Royal Navy. Captain Cook went on 3 voyages before his death, the first from 1768 to 1771, the second from 1772 to 1775, and the last from 1776 to 1779. One of the socioeconomic and scientific advantages the British gained from the talents of James Cook was the discovery of Australia. Captain Cook's first voyage was from 1768 to 1771, as I previously stated, and in 1770 he had sailed and discovered Australia, then called New South Wales, where he claimed it for the British. After claiming it, John Green states that James Cook introduced sheep to Australia. By taking these animals to Australia, James Cook would be paving the way for Australia's huge wool industry that is still growing to this day. The discovery of Australia also started British colonization. Australia would be highly recognized for its success as a colony, because within 80 years, Australia went from 1,000 Anglo-Australians to 1.2 million Anglo-Australians, which would give a good reputation to the British since they had claimed Australia. Lastly, in the article on this day, Captain James Cook Set Sail, written by Julian Swallow, Captain Cook charted over 8,000 kilometers of coastline throughout Australia. While charting all of this new terrain, Captain Cook and his men were able to catalog thousands of species of plants and animals such as sea otters, seahorses, and kangaroos. And since Captain Cook was the first person to explore those lands, he was able to collect information that no other country had knowledge about, and then he could provide this information to the British. Overall, the discovery of Australia uncovered thousands of new species, while paving the way for the British wool industry and British colonization. Another socioeconomic and scientific advantage that the British gained from the talents of James Cook was the capture of Quebec. Captain Cook's talents were first brought to light in 1759. The British had been trying to conquer the city of Quebec since the 1690s with no triumph. Then Captain Cook came along and was able to do what no one else had done before. Using Cook's detailed maps, the fleet was able to capture Quebec City. This victory would ultimately lead to the end of the war and transfer most of the continent from France to Britain. In the article History, September 13, 1759, The Battle That Changed North America and the World, written by Mark Montgomery, states that French influence in the continent was diminished in other areas around the world, and England became a world force. Due to Captain Cook's ability to create a very detailed and accurate map of the St. Lawrence River, they were able to pull off a surprise attack against the French, and the British were able to capture Quebec. The success of Quebec would also expand British territory and would lead to more colonists, which would lead to more trade. And since the British benefited from both the export of raw materials from the Americas and the import of British consumer goods to the Americas, more colonists meant more trade, which would mean more wealth and a thriving economy. Overall, the capture of Quebec happened thanks to Captain Cook, and the British economy was able to reap its sweet rewards. One last socioeconomic and scientific advantage the British gained from the talents of James Cook was the viewing and documentation of the transit of Venus. During Captain Cook's first voyage, he was sent to search for the continent Terra Australis Incognita, but he was also given a secret mission. He was instructed to reach Tahiti and observe the transit of Venus as well. One of the main desires to document the transit was because it would help astronomers measure the distance between the Earth and the Sun. By noting the start and end times, astronomers could calculate the distance to Venus using principles of parallax. The scale of the rest of the solar system would follow. By getting this rare and valuable information, the British would have scientific advantage over the rest of the world. The viewing of transit also served multiple purposes besides just recording Venus's transit. At times, it served as a laboratory for testing the latest theories and technologies. The transit of Venus operations were bound up with attempts to improve navigation and cartography, which, along with botany, geography, and ethnography, provided information about how to best exploit new territories. Overall, due to the exceptional skills that Captain Cook possessed, he was able to deem the observation and documentation of the transit of Venus a success. In the end, the 3 most significant socioeconomic and scientific changes the British gained from the talents of James Cook was the discovery of Australia, the capture of Quebec, and the observation and documentation of the transit of Venus, in which all of these moments Captain Cook's extraordinary abilities were put on display, and so was the power of Britain.